3, 2. Oh, I like to do this. 5, 6, 5, 6, 7, 8. Welcome, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and those who have yet to make up their minds. I am your host, JustJack.com, coming to you live with my homegirl, Rose.
Hey, hey, hey.
Rosemary Garcia. Now, you didn't change your last name when you got married.
No.
Cool.
And the rationale is we just got our passports. And logistically, changing your name, like legally, all that good stuff it's a hassle. It's a lot. It's a lot of work. Passports, social securities, business licenses, professional licenses, all that good stuff. So we just haven't done that. Maybe in the future, we've thought about, maybe if we go on and adopt kids, we would give them like a hyphen name or something. But yeah, as of right now, we are our own names.
Yeah, which I think is wonderful.
Yeah.
I think that's wonderful. I had a teacher and she had this old white girl name, and then she was married to she was going to get married to a man with the last name Johnson, and she said that's a slave name. I don't want to take a slave name into my name. Let's make our own name. And
wow.
they just said they didn't come up with it. I think they saw it somewhere. It was Maravilla, and they said, "Oh, that's my last name.
That's beautiful.
We're gonna take that." And I think that really shows where we've come as a society.
Yeah.
Let's talk. We are jumping right into this podcast.
Let's talk about it. I was gonna say.
I feel so honored to have you here. I'm so grateful.
I feel honored to be on here. That you thought of me to have me on here.
Well, yes, of course, because for those of you guys who are listening, Rose has very interesting conversation for a woman who is so quiet. Now, have you always been this quiet, Rose?
I think so. Yeah, absolutely. I'm sober me, yes.
Oh, yeah. Oh. Sober you, yeah.
I think we all have different sides, right?
Yeah.
So yes, I tend to be more quiet, and then there are other times where, project my voice a little more, and it just depends on the environment, who I'm with, what's the vibe, what's going on,
Well, you met Leo and the gang, the squad, I call them. Your guys' little rascal gang.
Mm-hmm.
When? What time? How old were you?
Middle
then?
school.
So now Leo's a quiet character and Richard is a quiet character. And then you have Tanya.
Yes.
Who's like,
the talkative
she's the me
one
of the group. She's loud. She's out there.
Yeah.
What was that like for you guys growing up?
So I've known Tanya since like the 5th grade. So I met her first out of the bunch. And we've always talked about how her and I are just so opposite, and they say opposites attract. So I think we both bring balance to each other. She can be loud and sporadic and all over the place, and I tend to be more quiet, and Ivy always calls me grounded. She says I ground her. Mm-hmm. So that's just the balance in like our friendship. And then with the boys, with Leo and Richard, Leo's quiet, but he's also like really creative, and he's really open-minded, and we all just bring different things, to the table. So it's just a balance of all of our personalities and our energies, really. So yeah.
Even right now, as we are talking, I'm kind of, hi everybody, and she's like, so. So I have to keep hitting my ear to make her talk a little bit louder. So when you see me do this, that means you gotta project that voice.
Will do.
Pretend you've been drinking, girl.
Oh, don't tempt me. Okay, look, it's 12 o'clock. It's 12 o'clock right now. Okay. It is after the morning. It's go time.
Now, one funny story I think is so cute is that you're a lesbian now, but did you have a crush on Leo?
Mm-hmm. So me and Tanya had a crush on him. So we fought about that many a times. And like she was like his best friend for the longest, and I was like super jealous. F you, all those things. And he was actually like the first boy I ever kissed.
Oh, wow.
Funny story. I know, I know. And then it's like, look at us all now. At at some point, we all found our truths.
Yeah.
Is how I see it, and yeah, I liked boys. I dated boys. I think I was just trying to do my best at appeasing society, those family expectations, because little girls are taught to like boys and date boys, and little boys are taught, to like girls, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I did my best.
Mm-hmm.
I tried, and then I tried something else, and it was no going back. Okay. Okay. Look. And then it's like, how do you know if you don't like something unless you try
Right.
it?
Right.
So, yeah,
And
I tried it for a long time, and then, yeah, found something better.
you identify now as what?
A lesbian.
A lesbian. And Tanya identifies as lesbian
Mm-hmm.
as well. And I believe Leo would identify as gay. However, I think he would be more of the identify as I'm going to love whoever I want to love in this world.
Yeah.
That's fair,
Love is
right?
love. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I
because
think
I've
so.
seen Leo make out with some beautiful women at the bar. And I'm like, oh my God, you're so charismatic. Who doesn't want to make out with Leo? No wonder these two little girls were fighting over you.
Oh my gosh.
These two little
So funny.
lesbians.
So funny. Really. Look at us now. It's just hilarious.
Now, did your culture have a lot to do with your growing up?
Yeah, definitely. I
Let's talk
mean,
about that.
yeah, we can talk about that. My mom, my parents have an interesting story, and my mom always jokes like, "Ooh, I should make a movie. You should. It make for a good TV." So my dad was retired from the Navy, so he retired in Oceanside, bought himself a little house here. And his neighbors were like, "Hey, you're single." And one of his neighbors was like, "I got a niece and you should write her letters. Let's make this happen." So it was my mom's aunt who was like the matchmaker. Um, and they wrote for, I want to say maybe at least a year or so. And then he went over there and married her and brought her here. So my mom's from the Philippines. My dad is from Colorado. So he's, Mexican and Native American. But I would definitely say more American than either of the two, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And then my mom just straight off the boat from the Philippines. I always tell her, like, I wish you would have taught me your language. And she's like, well, I was trying to learn English. And I'm like, bitch, you still don't know English. What is your excuse? Like, I just like to guilt trip her. It's funny. But yeah, growing up, with my parents, and my dad passed away when I was 9 and a half. He had cancer. He was also an alcoholic. And my mom has great stories. She's like, I didn't know he was an alcoholic until like I moved here. And I was like, damn, nobody told you they got your ass. And she always says like he was such a ladies' man, and he had somebody living in the house up until the day before I got here. And I was like, oh, look, a man has some needs, I guess. I don't know. She's got great stories. But yeah, and then after he passed, she started bringing her family from the Philippines, and they lived in the house with us. So I feel like I was raised in like Filipino culture, pretty much. So very, Catholic, heteronormative,
Right.
Lots of rules. My mom was always really overprotective, and, you can't date until you finish college.
Really?
Oh yeah. She, and she was just always like school first,
Right.
get a career, get married, have your kids, blah, blah, blah. So, and that definitely, was instilled in me for a long time. I mean, me and Ivy were together for 10 years before we got married because,
Mm-hmm.
yes, my foundation is school first, then career, then I felt, I was in a stable place in my life to where I'm like, yeah, let's get married.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
And you just finished up your licensing.
Yeah. So I finished with my master's program, got my master's degree in
You
2016.
go, girl.
Yes. Oh my God. So it's been a journey because the licensing process is, you have to have so many hours of experience,
Mm-hmm.
and it's all supervised experience. And then you take a test, and then the state recognizes you as a licensed marriage and family therapist.
You
That is
go,
the
girl.
title. Yeah, so it's been quite the journey.
Congratulations to you. Now, how do you
Thank
feel
you.
that you did all those years um, going for your hours?
I think I did well. I am where I am now because of all the
Okay.
experience I mean, every day is something new. Like after part of my master's program was to do like an internship. And I'd always wanted to work with kids, but I was also working at the time, so that kind of limited my availability. So I did my experience with military veterans
Mhm.
who were homeless and struggling with substance abuse. So that was a really good experience. I like honestly, if that program would have stayed open, I feel like I could have stayed there because I really
Mm.
enjoyed it. Doing groups with, again, these military veterans. I also got to volunteer at the Vista Jail, working with the military veterans there. Also doing groups. It was just a really good experience. Really, really good. And then like I said, I wanted to work with kids. So I applied to a bunch of different places. We were actually like cleaning out our storage, and I found like I kept a log of everywhere that I applied.
Oh,
And I had
wow.
like 2 pages front and back
Wow.
of places that I applied to. And I was like, wow, I can't even, I don't even remember that. But I remember applying so many places. And the recurring theme was, well, you don't have any experience with kids. So, you know,
Um,
so I took a job with the company that I'm at currently for a bachelor's level position. So I was like, you know what? I need the experience. I'll take
so
anything I can get.
what you're saying is you had a master's at the time, but you took
Hmm.
a bachelor's position
Yeah, because I
just for the
needed the
experience.
experience. Absolutely. I was like,
Hmm.
I will take
You weren't too
anything.
proud.
No, absolutely not. Because I had no experience working
Mhm.
with that population. So who am I to say, oh, this job is above me? Absolutely not.
Can we talk about that population? Because I think that population right now, um, are we seeing higher suicide rates with the youth?
So we're seeing higher attempts related to like OD, like
Overdose of
lots more
what?
kids trying to overdose
On
on
what?
you name it, you
Oh,
name
they
it.
just try it,
Tylenol,
find it.
ibuprofen, their medications that they already have, medications that parents might have, Xanax, whatever they can get their hands on.
Just a cocktail of a good time
Yep,
to
yep,
leave.
yeah, yeah.
How sad. And I remember one time you I know you're not supposed to talk about your families, but one time you talked about how the father was just crying because he couldn't believe that his daughter would want to even try to commit suicide. What can you take me through the process of that?
So yes, so okay, I'll give you some. So we'll kind of backtrack a little. So I have been working with a crisis program, so servicing Medi-Cal clients and those that are uninsured in the county of San Diego, providing crisis intervention. So the program that I was working with is kind of like the first line of defense after a mental health crisis. So going into the homes, working with families to assess the needs, the mental health needs, and also helping with any like case management needs, like linking families with resources in the community, whether it be housing or financial aid, helping them pay bills, getting them on Medi-Cal,
Mhm.
food, whatever. So the population has been, yeah, that's the population. the program that I was working at recently was an intensive respite program. So it's like once a kid has been hospitalized for an attempt or, suicide risk, then they could come to that program before going home to kind of learn some skills to help them maintain their safety going home.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of like where I've been working. So with that population. So when you bring up families like that, um, that's a common reaction. And I think that's a common reaction for like adults across the board, like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
looking at their kids, like, what do you have to be depressed about? What do you have to be anxious about? You don't have to work, you don't have to pay bills. All you have to do is go to school, right? That is literally
Right.
your only job. So
Right.
it's a struggle for a lot of adults. And then to then find out that their kid was thinking about ending their life, you know, I think that I think that can be eye-opening for a lot of families. It is eye-opening for a
Yeah.
lot of families, because it's like, whoa, there's some significance here. We really got to take a look at that. So that's where I've been able to kind of help, bridge those gaps, because really that's what it is. There's a gap. There's so many
Say it
things not
louder.
being communicated. There's
Yes.
so many things not being heard and felt or validated,
Mm-hmm.
that kids feel like they have no other options. So, it's a lot. It's definitely a lot.
Our children feel like there's no other option. And it is the parents telling them, what do you have anxiety about?
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to pay bills. You don't have to. You don't have to. I got frustrated with one of the parents because she was like, she should be having good grades and she should
Mm-hmm.
be, and I was like, her getting good grades is obviously something that we need to look into because there's a gap.
Yeah.
There's a gap there. If the child is not getting good grades, the last thing we want to do is harp on them. I think Mallory posted something about this. The
Mm-hmm.
last thing we want to do is put more guilt and shame and more crap on
Yes.
our children about getting good grades in a educational system that is failing them.
Yeah.
It's failing
Absolutely.
them.
Yeah.
Now, let's really go into. I really want to talk about this because right now I feel that there are lots of parents homeschooling their children. Lots of
Mm-hmm.
parents are doing the Zoom, which drives me bananas, and I'm not even with the children 24/7. It drives me bananas just listening to the way these teachers talk to these children, and I can understand the teacher's frustration.
Mm-hmm.
What would you tell a parent whose child is trying to commit harm to themselves, whether it's cutting or taking excessive pills, um, anything to harm the child? What would you tell? How would you go into that with a parent?
So I would just tell them to talk to them, and like you said, you brought up shame and guilt. So in working with adults, especially adults that have like struggled with addiction, like I've learned that shame and guilt go hand in hand with addiction. Whatever shame you felt about something that happened in your life and that goes unresolved for years and years, and the same with guilt. You feel guilty for something that happened way back when. Carrying those emotions specifically, that is going to be addiction's best friend. So,
Mm,
in talking with parents of children who self harm, you know, not being mad about it, but really trying to find out what is the reason, because people self harm for different reasons, whether that's cutting or using drugs, or there's lots of different ways people can self harm, as I've learned. Um, is like, why? Some people self harm to punish themselves,
mm,
to distract from whatever emotional pain they're feeling by inflicting physical pain on themselves.
mm,
There's many different reasons, because they don't like themselves. Again, is it that shame and guilt? Like there's many different reasons. So it's like, find the reason. Talk to your kid. Um, don't make them the enemy and don't make them feel bad, because at the end of the day, like, the self-harm is a coping skill. it's
mm.
it's not a good coping skill, but it's a way of coping. Again, in the same way that we use, drugs and alcohol, in the same way that people go for hikes as coping, like
Mm.
there's so many different ways of coping. And for whatever reason, these kids have learned that that's what works for them. So helping your kid, connecting with them to help them find a different way. But really, we have to go over, like, what is the reason behind it?
Get to the root.
Yeah, get to the root.
Get to the root, pull it out. What are some things you would recommend as healthy coping mechanisms for children or youth?
Again, and anything can be coping, right? Reading,
Mm.
coloring, watching
Mm.
movies, those are all great coping, and there's lots of different things you can do. For a parent who's struggling to connect with their kid, doing board games, doing
Mm.
puzzles together, again,
Mm.
connecting, because it's that gap. It's that gap that leads to dysfunction. I
Mm.
feel, so the more we bridge that gap, the more we build connections, I feel the better. And especially right now, in the times of COVID, we are all so disconnected from one
Mm.
another
Mm-hmm.
that, being able to build and strengthen those connections in house, because everything happens at home, right? Home is
Yes.
foundation. So
Mm-hmm.
when there's chaos at home, there is chaos in your foundation.
Mm.
So it's important to really strengthen those connections at home. I could go on and on about coping skills,
Please
because there's
do.
just so many things to do.
Please do. I'm sitting here digesting all of it like, yes, give me more puzzles. Give me Chinese checkers.
Yes, yes, just doing those things. And, I was fortunate enough to work at the program that I was at where, the mental health workers could really teach kids all about coping. And whether that's board games or
Mm.
card games or word games, like whatever, but like sitting there and like connecting and engaging, like that is the best form of coping. And, I feel like, especially when we talk about like self harm and suicide and depression, like those are really like lonely things. Depression and
Mm-hmm.
anxiety, that is a lonely place to be.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't stay alone, to fix and repair that loneliness. You need relationships, you need
Right.
connection, you need interactions. So for me, that's the best form of coping. Now you have those families where the kid can't stand their family, right? Right?
Yeah, right.
What are your triggers? My mom is my trigger. Her face, her very breath, everything she says. I mean, it's deeper than that. It's usually
Right.
like the way my mom makes me feel like shit.
Right.
That's usually the real trigger,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So then those relationships take a little longer to repair. I usually find that in those relationships, we have to work on building trust before we can even connect. I had a
Mm-hmm.
parent who her kid was in the hospital and she was like, my kid had the audacity to like ask me to bring her some tampons. When she's at the hospital, they got stuff there. No, mom. She's trying to see if you are able to meet her needs.
Okay.
You are her mother. She already
Okay.
don't trust you. You don't trust her. Like these little
Right.
things, especially for teenagers, because for a lot of them, their love language is food and materials.
Yeah. Yes.
So, how do we meet the need? You want me to bring you a burrito? Cool. We don't got to talk about it. We don't got to sit and eat together, but you need me to help you meet a need. Let me help you. I
Right.
feel like a lot of the times, too, parents get caught up in like these power struggles. We
Mm.
can't play these games with these kids. That's not fair
Mm-mm.
because then we're setting them up for the relationships later in life.
Right.
That every relationship has got to be a power struggle. Absolutely not. It does
Mm.
not. I don't want to sit taller than you. I don't want to sit below you. I want to sit next to you. And how do we work together? Okay.
Yes, honey. That I mean, there usually when I do these, I'm able to say, okay, I'm going to pick from that, let her continue. But you've continued, and I'm like, I want to pick from that, I want to pick from that, I want to pick from that. Where do I pick from first? Which fruit do I pick off of first? Because you just dropped so much wisdom and so much truth. You are just dropping truth
I hope
moment
so.
by moment, by everything that you utter. You are dropping truth. And I hope that parents are out there listening, because it doesn't have to be a power struggle. You don't
No.
own your child. Your child does not belong to you. Let's
Right.
be honest. Your child chose you before they
Right.
came into this time-space reality.
Right.
You know, a long time ago, I would blame my mom for lots of things. Hey, mom, if you're listening, I would blame my mother for lots of things. I would blame her, blame her, blame her. Then my homegirl said, shut up, because you know what? You chose her. So take some responsibility for the person that you chose. My whole outlook on my mother shifted, you know? And I feel like if a lot more of our mothers understood this concept, they would come up off their high horse and really meet their child as that equal.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
not sitting above or beneath, but just being equal. And I think what you were saying was lots of children, their family is the problem. And I think as queer folk, what happens is that's us. We don't identify with our families. We don't have anybody who we can like really break bread and understand us. So we go out and we find that in community.
Right. In the same way that you said, like, we chose our parents, you know, we can choose our family.
We choose our families.
Yeah, because you're absolutely right, you know, especially in the queer community. I'm fortunate to where, you know, well, I kind of felt like I'm an only child. So like, mom, you had no choice but to accept me. I'm all you got. It's me, honey. It's me. You know, but I know everybody doesn't have that experience. So I feel truly blessed in my life for sure. But yes, and it's not to say that the family is the problem, it's the system. You know, it's because our parents came from a system too.
A belief system.
They're a product of their system, of their culture, of their generation. And so they're either, you know, carrying on with all those beliefs and values, what have you, or, you know, we're breaking those cycles and creating new ones. You know, so where do we fall in the cycle? You know, where are we perpetuating? Or are we creating a new?
And ancestral karma is very real. And one time my friend said this to me, and I took it and I continue to promote it. I don't care what the ancestors did to get all this karma, but here is where it ends. I will not pass it down. I will not pass down your guilt and shame. I try my best not to pass it down, but sometimes it gets passed down. I talked about it with Ivy. You know, my mother comes out of my mouth so many times.
Oh, me too. Me too. And you're right. You know, we chose them. So we can blame all day, but that the truth of it is, you know, it was our choice. We came into this universe with them. What can we learn? It is all about learning.
Right. It's all about learning. And I think the way to gain strength is by battling an even, you know, stronger opponent. And I believe that it's the ones we always say, why do we hurt the ones we love the most? But that hurt helps us to heal. And ultimately it helps us to grow.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and hurt is vulnerability. So the more we hurt others, that just shows we can be the most vulnerable with that person. You know, that's kind of how I see it. Because I hear that from parents all the time. They just treat me like shit. You know, that's because they trust you and they know you won't leave.
That they know you won't leave. Well, when you're family, you're kind of stuck into that system, right? You're stuck into that belief system until you finally, our beliefs are what we are been told over and over. Our beliefs have been beaten into us until we're black and blue. They've been prayed into us, but our beliefs can either set us free or hold us in captivity.
Absolutely.
Which one do we want it to be? as adults. These
Right.
children, I think children, children of the future. And I think children are a lot more smarter than most of us adults. But those children are going to grow up into adults one day. Do we really want to limit them?
Right.
In being autonomous? Do we really want to shut our daughters up?
Right.
When our daughters have something to say?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let them speak.
Let them speak.
It's funny that you said, I believe the children are our future. Are you quoting Whitney?
Girl, all day, every day, I quote Whitney and Dolly.
Well, and I definitely praise, that song, Greatest Love of All. And that was really why I wanted to work with kids. Because I do believe the children are our future. They're the little seeds that we nurture and care for, and they're going to live on. Not us.
Right.
Not us.
Right.
So we have to empower them. We have to validate and dignify and strengthen them and teach them. We have to ensure our future and theirs.
We have to instill it into them. What did Whitney say in that song? She said, everybody's searching for a hero. Everyone needs someone to look up to. Never found anyone who fulfilled my needs.
Exactly.
A lonely place to be, right? A lonely place to be. So I learned to depend on me.
Yes.
It's us. And we have to instill that into our children. We have to encourage our children and empower our children.
Yeah.
Even when they fuck up at the biggest fuck up of all.
Right. Right.
Who
Even when
cares?
they run their mouths and tell us we ain't shit.
So what? Be stronger than that. You take dick bigger than that. Oops, sorry. I got a little carried away. I forgot where I was at.
You talking to somebody's mama. Who are you talking about? You had somebody in mind when you said that.
I did. I did too.
I had somebody in mind.
She knows I did too because she listens to my podcast.
Okay. Okay.
I think
take it there.
Now is a perfect time to go into commercial break.
On that note,
we'll be right back after these messages. We're supposed to go into commercial right now, but I can't stop laughing. So, Rose, do you have the Just Jack Chap?
Do I? Look, do I? I got 5 of them. And then I ordered 5 more because the first 5 didn't have nothing in them.
Oh, no, she didn't call me out on commercial break. Oh,
it is so good. It's so good. I will buy 5 more every time. It's the best chapstick I ever had, for real. And ask anybody, I love me some chapstick, okay? And I keep them until they're all the way gone. I don't know. But I love me some chapstick. I have a chapstick fetish or something. I don't know. But I got one in my car, in my office, in my desk, in my lunch bag, in my backpack, in my purse, everywhere. I keep them everywhere.
Well,
and I love Just Jack Chap.
Next time you'll have to buy in bulk. We don't have that option on the website, but I'll make sure that you get the bulk order.
Okay.
My mom orders the bulk order.
Yes.
Because she loves having one. Let's go into that. That's a fun story because do you want to tell it or want me to tell it?
You can tell it.
Okay. So I had this huge order of Just Jack Chap over the holiday season. And I think I made 50 for one order, and then I kept going. And what happened was Rose lives in Oceanside, which is closest to me. So she got her Just Jack Chap first. And then she sends me a picture message that she got her Just Jack Chap, but she said, "Did you send me empty tubes?" And I look at my counter and I'm like, oh shit, 150 Just Jack Chaps right there on my counter, made to be delivered out, and 150 out there somewhere in the universe with no Just Jack Chap in it. It was one of the biggest blows to business. I was so mad at myself.
Oh, did you get any complaints?
I got no complaints because what happened was you were the first one to message me.
Okay.
And so what happened was I was like, oh shit. And I started messaging everybody. Did you get chapstick in? Do you get empty tubes? And so because I'm the person I am and people know me, they're kind of like, oh, fucking Jack.
Fucking Jack. Literally.
You just fucked up. Okay, send me more, bitch. You know, they didn't care. They didn't care.
There you go. Which is a testament to you, your character, and your business.
Yeah.
You know?
It really is. It really does show. And that's why I'm really big on attraction marketing, bringing people to you. Because I never told you, I never hustled my product to you.
No, right? Like we've talked about it. You know, it gets brought up. Everybody has the Just Jack Chat. Right. So it was just one day I was like, you know what? I'm going to order me some.
Right. Yeah. And this goes and shows that people are not going to go ask you for your product. They're just going to go to your website and order.
Right.
Because while I was filling orders, I get them in my email. And so while I was filling orders, it said, Rosemary Garcia just ordered Just Jack Chap. And I was like, oh my God, she loves me. Oh my God, I have friends.
I have friends.
They support me.
You are so funny.
So order your Just Jack Chap at JustJack.com. That's justjack.com with 2 S's, because one just ain't enough.
Boom, bitch.
Let's go back to the show, shall we?
Let's do it.
And we're back with my homegirl, Rose. Hey, Rose.
Hey.
I could not stop laughing and smiling. You are just too...
It's a good story.
It's great stories. Great stories. Let's talk a little bit about your home life when it comes to going to school, doing the work, being married, having a fur baby. How many fur babies do you guys have?
So we have 2, one full-time, the other one we have like partial custody of.
Every other weekend.
Every other weekend.
From Rose's first marriage.
Yeah. Hardly. Never that. Married one time. That's it.
Okay. So what does the balance look like for you?
Well, I mean, I'm not in school. I'm working full time, and my wife is in school. She's working, so she's home most of the time. So yeah, and I mean, we just got married. It's been 3 months now. So that's been fun. I've enjoyed it quite a lot. Sometimes I feel like, why didn't we do this sooner? But yeah, you know, everything I feel happened when it was supposed to. And it's been great. Yeah. I mean, this past year has been crazy, you know, everything that's going on in the world. It's been crazy. So I'm thankful. I feel blessed that I have a home to come home to. My wife, you know, our dog, he is such a joy, and all of our friends that we can still connect with, you know, and doing things like this, you know, and even just video chatting and talking to people all the time. So absolutely. Like I said, connections are just so important.
How do you manage to stay connected with everything going on? What's your go-to these days?
I mean, I guess technology. I mean, because it's meeting in person isn't as accessible, nor is it, you know, as safe. Just, you know, we want to be safe. So utilizing technology and phone calling, texting, sending pictures, you know, like Tanya sends us pictures all the time. This is where we drove and ended up today. And this is what the dogs are doing. So yeah, just keeping up in that way.
let's give a shout out for Tanya, because she really showed me, she taught me without even realizing she was teaching me how to be a great, not only best friend, but a great friend. One time she was like, um, sometimes Rose just needs to vent to me. She said, she's a therapist. The last thing she needs is my therapy, you know? She goes, she just needs to vent. And then she said, she'll vent the whole ride home and then say, okay, I'm home now, bye.
Yeah. That didn't happen overnight. It's taken some time, you know, because there have been many times where, you know, she would call and vent her frustrations, and I would give feedback, because sometimes it's hard to turn off the therapist mode.
Right.
And just go straight into it. And one time she got really mad at me, and she was like, I don't need you to be my therapist. I just need you to be my friend. You're absolutely right. So that was a check for me, you know, a huge check. And so, yeah, you know, we've come to this place now where, and my wife is the same. She's like, you know, but like in the opposite way. She's like, you know, some of the things that happen at my work and my job, things I see, hear, and read, it's a lot. You know, reading constantly about people's trauma and their experiences, it's a lot. So, you know, she kind of set that boundary, to where, you know, certain things we don't talk about, you know, because it's too much. So then I'll call Tanya, and, you know, and I'll just vent, and she'll let me vent.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've all come to a place. So again, communication, boundaries, those are important.
Yeah.
And it's like in the same way, like, you know, I don't want to be my wife's therapist. You know, I'm like, that's not our relationship.
Right.
So then, you know, people are always like, oh my gosh, your wife's a massage therapist, you probably get massages all the time. No, because in the same way, I don't want to be her therapist. Like, you know, I don't want her to be like my massage therapist. She's not my personal massage therapist, you know, because she's got stuff to do too. So having those boundaries, and, you know, if she's going to work on me, then we schedule it like a regular client would.
Right.
So yeah.
Which is a tough thing too. It's tough turning off the therapist. You know, it's tough turning off the coach. It's tough turning off beingJustJack.com. Everybody comes to me for advice and they pay me for it, but then I go out and I party, and I'm kind of like, why am I having a therapy session with you? You're not paying me for this shit.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
And don't let me do Molly, because then all of a sudden I'm like, woo, I'm gonna help
what are we talking
about? And that was tough for me in the beginning.
Yeah.
It was tough for me in the beginning. Remember that one time we were at our friend's house, who should not be named, and we were doing Molly, and then I told Ivy, you want some Molly, girl? And she goes, well, you're gonna have to ask Rose, because when I leave y'all party animals, Rose is gonna have to take care of me.
That's right.
I went to you and I go, Rose, can I give Ivy Molly? And you said, no, you're not gonna give her nothing. No. And then I go, it'll make her horny. And you go, believe me, she don't need nothing to help her with that.
She don't.
You're like, that may work for all you faggots over there. But we have no
I didn't
problem.
Say that.
No, you didn't say that. I forget where I'm at. Look, when I'm with you, I forget where I'm at.
Look,
I forget that there's people listening to us.
We in a whole nother place right now. Yeah.
No, but going back to Tanya and that whole therapy thing, Leo asked me one time, he said, you help so many people, Jack, but who do you go to for help? And RuPaul asked Chaka Khan this, who sings to the songstress? Like, so for you, who's your go-to? What does that look like for you? Who sings to the songstress?
that's something I struggle with, and that's something like, Ivy's always encouraging me to do and seek out. I mean, I think a lot of my stressors or worries or things come at work. So, I talk to my supervisors and my colleagues, and then, after I vent to my friends or what have you. But yeah, that's something that I struggle with. I mean, um, I don't necessarily have like a regimented or structured like spiritual practice. I believe, in karma. I believe things happen for a reason. I believe in God. I believe in love. But I don't necessarily have like a spiritual practice. I kind of just go with the flow. I'm just trying to be here and in the moment. So yeah, and again, my relationships, that's where I go. I look to my family a lot, like our gatherings when we used to all gather all the time. That was kind of where I got to recharge and like, kind of see like, this is where you come from. And, just a reminder of who I am. So I miss those. I really do, like over the holidays and stuff. I definitely tried to make it a point to like drive to everybody's house to see everybody and like drop off gifts or, like wedding invites, and try to just connect again. So yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say that because it reminds me of Dorothy in the poppy fields when she went to sleep, and it was her friends who brought her back up, and we're like, come on, you got to do this. Don't go to sleep.
Yeah.
Don't fall back asleep, right? Because I think that we do get tied up in the hustle and the bustle, and we kind of, even though we say we know who we are, we forget how powerful we actually are. And then it's our friends and families who are like, no, listen to Tita. Listen to Tita Jackie. My husband just bought me a Mercedes. It's okay. All is going to be well.
Oh, that is so funny. You do a Filipino accent better than me.
I love it. I always had Filipino women around me.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I worked for a fashion designer who was Filipino.
Okay.
And then he was like a Filipino woman all in one.
Yes.
So he was like, hey, give me a pork. Help me with the lumpia. Come on, mama. Mama. Go ask ask your Tita Lucy for something. Go. I'll go.
That is the best. That is the best.
So one thing that I do when it comes to who sings to the songstress, I have my midnight meetings because I wake up. I come to life at night. At night. I'm definitely a daughter of the moonlight. So I'll have my midnight meeting, or I learned this from Leo. Take your 10. I'm gonna go take my 10. What that 10 consists of?
Yeah.
That's on you.
Yeah.
Even one time, Leo told me, I go, what is a 10 that you're taking? He first said it to me. He goes, a 10 can be anything. A 10 can be a cigarette break. A 10 can be, I'm going to take 10 minutes to check my text messages. I'm going to take 10 minutes to jack off if I want to, And I think it's important. Yeah. Go have your midnight meeting, go release, go take your 10. And I think that we should, as a society, start allowing our friends to go take a 10 instead of being like, oh, you're always on your cell phone. Well, you know what? That's where people are right now. In my cell phone. So instead of sitting here watching Jesus Christ Superstar focused on my television set, why can't I chew gum and walk? Listen to Jesus Christ Superstar and send a few text messages just saying, hey, I'm still alive.
Yeah.
Why is that so difficult? I think there can be a balance.
I like that. Take your 10. And I mean, like, my drive from home to work is a good 45 minutes.
That's a long drive.
So I take my 45 every day. Twice, There and back. And so that's definitely like my me time. And like I said, I'm an only child. I like my me time. I like my solitude. I like the peace and quiet of being with myself. I do. I
Mm-hmm.
value that. As much as I value connection, I value my solitude as well. That
Amen.
is peace.
Amen.
Because if you can't be alone with yourself, if
Yeah.
you can't sit there and be alone with yourself,
How you
how
gonna be
you gonna
around
be with other
company?
people? Exactly.
Yeah. I'm not gonna stand
Exactly.
your ass.
I know.
You can't even
Exactly.
stand your ass.
Exactly. Absolutely. So I definitely believe in taking time for yourself. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And do your coping, right? Because all those things you mentioned, that is coping. The
Coping.
cigarette,
Mm-hmm.
choking that chicken, whatever.
Okay. Puff, puff, pass. A little
Puff,
puffy
puff,
puff. A
pass.
little sniffy
You
sniff.
know,
A
you
little
know.
drink a drink. Okay. Coping mechanisms.
Yeah, yeah.
Dr. Wayne Dyer said, it's impossible to be lonely when you love the person you're alone with.
Mhm.
And I think
Mhm.
that really speaks volumes.
Oh,
Falling in love
absolutely.
with yourself. Learning
Yeah.
to love yourself is the greatest love of all. Falling in love all
Exactly.
over.
Exactly.
Fall in love with yourself. Buy yourself flowers if that's what
Mhm.
mounts you.
Mhm.
I love plants. And
Mhm.
I've been giving so much of my love to my plants, and surprisingly, they haven't died. Usually they come and they just this is just a burial ground for
A
plants. But
burial ground. Stop
I've been
it.
giving so much of my love to my plants, and it's kind of like,
Mhm.
every rock and tree and creature has a life, has a spirit, has a name,
Okay, Pocahontas.
right?
Yes.
And so when you start loving yourself, you can
Mhm.
recognize love when it comes around you, even when it's from freaking plants,
Yeah.
even
Right.
when it's from plants, from the animals, the children.
Mhm.
My
Yeah.
goodness.
Yeah. You feed them and they'll feed you right back.
Right. It's that reciprocity.
Yes. Yes.
It's a reciprocity thing. Now, you talked earlier, you said you don't really have a spiritual practice. You don't have any kind of spiritual practice whatsoever?
Like I said, I believe in many things, but I mean, I don't meditate regularly or I don't, you know what I mean? Like,
Do you pray?
I don't pray, not regularly. No. I listen to music. That is my prayer. you know.
Music ministers to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Every day on my way to work, I've been
Okay.
listening to the 90s at 9 on channel 94.1. That is my church right there. Okay. In Sync Beyond, the
Okay.
Backstreet Boys, some Britney. Okay, Britney, bitch. That is
Well,
my church, being in my car, listening to music.
isn't that
Yeah.
what it's all about? It's about raising
Yeah.
your own vibration,
Oh, absolutely. That shit gets me pumped.
right? Whether you do it with Jesus or Britney, when the vibe raises, the vibe raises.
hmm
You know, you tell the
hmm
devil, bye, bye, bye.
Exactly. Okay. Backstreet's back.
All right. I think Ivy said, my existence is spiritual. My
Uh-huh.
spiritual
hmm
practice or something along those lines. I feel like you're the
hmm
same way.
hmm
Like your existence is more than enough. You don't have
Thank
to
you.
stay in a synagogue and meditate for 42 hours or
Yeah.
pray and read the Bible from beginning to end. You're just that kind of being, a loving being,
Thank you. Thank
doing the
you.
Lord's
Yeah.
work.
Do it. Stop it.
That's what me and Ivy talked about. You doing the Lord's work, Rose.
I love that. I've said that at work like recently. Because it's in the job, in the capacity, the work that I've done, it's serving the community. Um, and I believe in that. I've been fortunate enough to be where I am. So of course I want to give it back to the best of my ability. And I've said, working in this system at, especially like in this company, the clients that we serve, like we have to work really hard. There's a lot of documentation. Jesus,
mm.
there's so much paperwork. We have to document so many things to justify treatment, but we work hard so they don't have to. So our clients and our families don't have to, because all the things that have got them to where they are now to us, just showing up for an appointment, that in and of itself, that's a struggle. So that is why, we do the work that we do. That's why I do the work that I do.
It's going above and beyond for your fellow flawed human being. That's what it is. It's kind of like prayer. It's one of the most giving, selfless things you can do, because they don't know you're doing it.
They don't. They have no idea.
They have no idea how much work you're putting in.
Nor do they need to.
Right. Nor do they probably care.
They probably don't.
They probably don't care.
And that's okay, because they have enough on their plate.
They have enough on their plate, and we're helping to heal. We're helping them to heal ultimately. We came from the generation of, you don't go to therapy. You don't go see a shrink. You don't need that. We don't need someone to tell our problems to. Now we're in that space of, we promote therapy, and we encourage to go find community and people to share your life with. Do you think in the new earth, where we're going into maybe the next 200 to 400 years, do you think that we will have a place where we don't necessarily have a need for therapists?
I would hope so. Like my supervisor always says, like, we want to work ourselves out of a job.
Yeah.
We want to help others so that they can help themselves. My goal is to not get you to a point where you feel like you have to depend on me for the rest of anything. I want to be able to come in, help you, help yourself, and let you move on and live your life.
Like Mary Poppins.
Like Mary.
Right?
Come on in.
She was
sprinkle some shit,
Yeah. Remind you who you are.
Exactly.
Remind you that it's all about play and imagination.
Yeah.
And, dancing on rooftops. Be that child all over again. And then when the wind changes, I'm out. You don't need me anymore. And that's okay. You don't mind being a seasonal character?
No, not at all.
I don't either.
Not at all.
I don't mind it. But I feel like, I feel like there's people that have come into my life for a season, but they latch on and they stay for a lifetime. Do you have those people in your life?
No.
No?
Not a whole lot. I mean, you've met my crew, right? And we've all been in each other's lives a long time. And then we're all just really loyal to each other. And I would say all the people in my life are in my life for a reason. I don't like to hang on to dead weight.
Okay.
Right, we gotta be intentional with this shit, because life is short.
Right.
I think I've learned that numerous times in my life, that life is short. We can't take anything for granted. So why waste time?
Yeah.
Like, I don't have a lot of people in my life that are just like accessories. I don't do well with accessories.
No. I don't see you as a person who would do well with accessories. But I could definitely see that child who is going to latch on to you and be like, you really changed my life, Miss Rose. What do they call you?
They just call me Rose.
They just call you Rose?
Yeah. Some of them say Miss Rose.
I can see those kids.
Only the well-mannered ones. I'm just
kidding. The well-mannered children. Okay, Miss Rose, I can see you, and then way later on down the road, I can see them. Like with me, the children that I used to teach, they all grew up and got social media. So when it was time to find social media, they found Mr. Jack.
Yeah, yeah.
But they didn't find Mr. Jack, the teacher that taught them. They found Mr. Jack,
They sure did it.
Okay, with the nails and the everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then even those kids grow up, to be 19 years old, and they say, hey, do you want to go to the beach, Mr. Jack?
Yeah.
So we go to the beach with each other, and we play phase 10 with each other. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like you would have those kind of kids come along the years.
Well, the program that I've worked with, it's really short term, like days.
Oh,
so yes, I think I've been able to make an impact, but not to the point where, the kids are trying to come back and reconnect. And I'm okay with that.
So it's really seasonal. It's
Very.
temporary.
It's very temporary. And again, I'm okay with that. Let me help you get on your way so you can live your life. Because this ain't about me.
Right.
It's not about me. You
Right.
know, I haven't had anybody try to find me on social media or add me, thankfully. And I'm okay with that.
Well, I live for that shit. So I'm kind of like, oh yeah, let's be friends. Like my stuff,
Right?
I'll like
Yeah.
you.
Right. Oh, that's cool. That's really cool that you can be open like that. Because I think like in my role, ethically, there are those clear, hard boundaries where, for me, like that wouldn't be okay. So again, I'm okay with the, love them and leave them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's how I am with my husbands. Once they're in, but when they're out, they're out. Goodbye. Bye. Unless y'all want to try this all over again, then come for round 2, but that probably won't last either. Let's go to one more commercial.
Husbands, plural?
Husbands.
Okay.
There have been many beautiful chocolate men to put a ring on this finger.
Oh, okay. We're going to have to talk about that one day.
I'm going to put their hands on me and end up in jail. Just kidding. One time I had this ring on my finger at the bar, and this girl was like, oh, are you married? I said, no, I'm actually divorced. The best thing that ever happened to me. She's like, really? And I was like, yeah, he put his hands on me. I was the last motherfucker he'd ever touched. And she's like,
that was a wrap.
The look on the little white girl's face was like, oh! And then she just walked away.
That is hilarious. She was like, shit.
All right. Let's go into one more commercial break, and then we'll go into an empowering question and wrap this up.
Cool.
Hey, all you podcast listeners. This is your good Judy, JustJack.com. I just want to thank you for listening to all the mess that we create, and I want to welcome you to join our private Facebook group called The Court of Miracles. That's on Facebook, and the link will be in the description wherever this is uploaded. We're going to be going through different books over the year 2021 and 2022, which will be Think and Grow Rich, The Science of Success by Wallace Wattles. But every day we're going to have different audios, videos, tools, resources for you guys. Mondays we'll have a Mindset Monday, a morning motivational call. Not motivational, because who can I motivate, right? But just a mindset call. Sunday nights we're going to be giving Sunday night lectures. Wednesday nights we'll have Wednesday night webinars, all that fun stuff. And of course, every Friday we will upload our podcast with our friends, so that way you guys can listen more. So go ahead and click the link, and feel free to share this podcast with someone. Who knows, they might get a blessing from it, just like Dolly says. All right, lots of love. Let's get back to this show and wrap this up. Talk to you soon.
And
bye, Felicia. We're back with my homegirl, Rosemarie Garcia.
I love that you say my whole first name. It's really funny.
Well, I love your whole first name.
Thank you.
Yeah. We have Rose and Jack, if you're basic and boring, but Rosemarie.
And boring.
Rosemarie and JustJack.com, if you got it like that.
Hey, that's right.
Let's ask an empowering question. You ready for an empowering question?
Okay.
Let's see. What are my most important values? How are they seen in the direction of my life and in my everyday decisions?
Ooh. So things I value most are family,
Mm.
loyalty, honesty.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that shows in my relationships. Like I said, you know, longevity in my relationships.
Mm-hmm.
I've, been with my partner for 10 years now. My best friends, we've all been friends for, God, it seems like forever. I'm like, how long ago was middle school? It's been a long time. And also, like, in my work as well, honesty, family, loyalty, those things are really important to me. And I think also drive my practice in working with kids and their families. Because, there's there's no like identified patient. Like the client, whoever, they're what brought the system to treatment, but it's the system that needs change.
Mm.
It takes a village. I really believe in that mentality. If one person's struggling, you need the whole damn village to help,
Right.
to make changes, and to support growth and recovery for that
Right.
individual.
Right. It's the Native Americans. They have this practice. Well, I guess many other cultures do as well, but one of the practices is if one of the children are struggling, they're brought into the center of the village, and the
Yeah.
whole village sings the song that they were given at birth. Like there's a
Wow.
song given to
Ugh.
them at birth,
Ugh.
and so that like
That is
the
beautiful.
the shaman and the other women sing to the baby in the womb, and
Wow.
then that way they know their song. So when the
Ooh.
child messes up or struggles, they're brought to the village, and everybody in the village sings that specific song to them.
Wow. And takes
Yeah.
them back to in the womb.
In the
I can't
womb, like
imagine. That is so
remember who
powerful.
you are,
It
rather
is
than the guilt
so
and shame, right?
exactly. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? No, none
Right?
of that. None of
No, there is none of
Wow.
that. There's none of this. I'm taking you to the pastor, and she needs a nice steady whipping. No,
Mm-hmm.
they don't need a
Mm-hmm.
whooping. They need love, and they need to be reminded who they
Mm-hmm.
are and
Oh, oh,
empowered.
that is so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with me.
Yes, of
That is
course. I
amazing.
shared that too. I learned so much between Mallory and Ivy. That's my
Okay.
go-to. Like if
Me
I'm
too.
going to go on social media, I'm like, let me go walk the block, see Mallory, see Ivy.
Right, right. And it's
They
like, I
have great
know,
stuff.
I know I'm a therapist and I've gone to school and blah, 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 but like I've learned so much from Ivy, so much
Mm-hmm.
about communication, about emotions, about, trauma and healing and growth. Like she
Mm-hmm.
has taught me more than I feel like I've learned like at school and in practice. I've just learned so much from her. She helps me be better.
Same, same.
Yeah.
Remember
Yeah.
that one time we were talking about youth, and I was like saying some bullshit about, well, you just gotta face it and slap it in the face and move the fuck on, and that's how I get through shit. And then
Yeah.
Ivy just sat there and she's like, Jack, we don't all heal like you. I
We
was like,
don't, right?
ooh, we do not all heal
Mm-hmm.
like me. We
Mm-hmm.
don't.
Yeah.
And
Right.
that's beautiful that we don't all heal like each other.
Right. Imagine.
No, I wouldn't want everybody to heal like I heal too quickly. No, no, I don't really sit with the emotion. I'm like, here's what we got. Here's what we're going to
Mm-hmm.
do. Here's how we get rid of this. Goodbye.
Moving
Let's move
on.
on. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's not the healthiest for everybody
Mm-hmm.
or
Right.
with every situation.
Right.
It's
Right.
not healthiest for every situation. I know that Dolly Parton says, nothing moves slower than a slow healing heart dying to mend.
Ooh.
And when you hurry up and push that heart to hurry
Yeah.
up and mend,
Yeah.
she doesn't mend completely. You
Yeah.
know, there's still those open wounds that Rumi says allow light to either come in or go out, but at the same time, it's not the healthiest.
Absolutely. I feel like I've
Not the
had to say
healthiest.
that to families a lot, like this shit takes time,
Hmm.
you know? Maybe you didn't recognize it at first, but how long has your kid been struggling with depression or anxiety or these suicidal
Hmm.
thoughts? It's not going to go away overnight just because we brought it to light. No,
Right,
this
right,
is recovery is a process.
right. And you work with the children and the youth. I work with adults who
Hmm.
are, yes,
Who are kids in
adults
big
on the
bodies?
outside, huh?
They're kids in big bodies.
They're kids in big bodies. Yes. And
Yep.
many times I have to send those kids in big bodies to go sit with the child within.
Yes.
I make them sit with their inner child. I had this one client, God bless her. I sat with her and her inner child. All the inner child wanted was that love that
Hmm.
nobody else could give.
Hmm.
The mother couldn't give it.
Yep.
Adoptive mother couldn't give it. No one could give it to her. And it was so crazy because she was like, Jack, what do I do? I said, you're going to have to be the one to give that child love now.
So I learned to depend on me. Okay. Okay.
Okay. Okay. It's true. Even in
Yeah.
that song, even in the video, Whitney Houston finds that child, remember? And
Yeah.
they go on
Yeah.
stage together.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
give
so
that inner
beautiful.
child everything that you blamed your mama and your daddy and every
Hmm.
other person outside of yourself for not giving you.
Right.
Go give it to her now.
Yep.
It
It's
starts
not
with
too
her.
late. It's
It's
not too
never too
late.
late. It's
Hmm.
never, never, never too late.
Hmm.
Never too late. How do I show love to myself? And how do I show love to others?
How do I show love to myself? Um, by finding joy in things,
Mm.
laughing,
Mm-hmm.
and being grateful. That's how I show love to myself and to others. Um, you know, Gratitude, I think, is so important um, as a mindset, as a
Mm-hmm.
lifestyle, just being grateful in your life, even through all the things going on again in today's society, in our world, finding things to be grateful for, because that helps me get up every
Mm-hmm.
day and go on and be of service and service others.
Okay.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. Get my butt out of my bed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I I teach gratitude, and when
Mm-hmm.
we do, we uh, push the students to be grateful for things within themselves
Right.
rather than outside.
Right.
One of my favorites is I always thank my heart. Thank you, heart. Thank you so much for continuing to beat and pump the blood through my veins, even when I'm unconscious about it.
Yeah.
And even when I continue to allow other things outside of me to hurt you and break you.
Mm.
Thank you for healing yourself and
Mm-hmm.
for continuing little things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a gratitude journal?
No,
What were you going to say?
no. Well, I was gonna say, in talking about gratitude and the heart, right? I way back when I worked at like Office Depot, and I worked with this girl who I went to high school with, and I remember like all through high school she was dating this guy, and then by the time we were at Office Depot, whatever, she was no longer dating him, and she was like, that was like the worst relationship, and it was like such a bad breakup. But instead of being angry about it, she was grateful.
Mm.
She was like, I learned so much and I'm so
Mm-hmm.
grateful for that experience. And I was like, what?
Okay.
Wow. Just wow.
Yes.
So, it's all perspective. It
Yep.
is all perspective. We can
Mm-hmm.
either sit and whine and blame and shame about it, or we can be grateful for the lessons learned
Mm-hmm.
and be better for tomorrow.
Okay. And many people will join you. Misery loves company. You want to talk
Right?
crap and you want to wallow and you want to, sing a sad, sad song, they will come from miles to join you. But Maya Angelou told Oprah Winfrey one time, when things like that happen, you say, thank you. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you. You fired me from my job. Thank you. You want to break up with me? Thank you. Because what I'm about to get, darling, you have longed for.
Okay.
And it's that. That's what gratitude brings you.
Right. Thank
gratitude
you.
Opens up a whole new portal. Yeah, thank you. Next. Come on, Ariana Grande. Have you seen that Filipino lady when she says, Ariana Grande, that's me when I was young?
No.
I'm going to have to
I believe it though. I believe it. My mom is one of those. She's like, I look like that when I was young. I was 36, 24, 36, and 90 pounds. Bitch, you were malnourished.
Girl, you were hungry in the Philippines.
Don't come for me. When I was your age, I only weighed this much. Bitch, I live in America. Get out of here with that.
You only ate rice.
You only ate rice. Okay? Don't come for me.
You had a rice pooch. You only ate rice and longanisa and spam.
Okay.
Well, so funny. Thank you. Before we leave, let's do a shameless plug. You want to plug anything?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I could, plug my lady, my wifey, she's a massage therapist. She works at that Thai sport in Sorrento Valley. Get you a Thai massage. I would recommend a therapeutic massage because it's individualized. And it's away from the regimented protocol, rigid. We're all so used to like you go and get a sweetest massage and this is what it is, or a Thai massage, but get that therapeutic massage because that's going to be, like I said, more individualized, more personal. What is really going on in your body and how can we treat you?
And Ivy listens to the body.
She does. She's so in tune. She's so intuitive. Sometimes I'm like, ooh, girl, you was reading my mind. How did you know I was thinking that?
Her psychic therapeutic ability.
I
know. And for those of you guys who want to purchase the Just Jack Chap, you can purchase on our website, justjack.com. There's also different resources for business owners, more podcasts with my friends who are just authentic, genuine, amazing spiritual beings having a human experience. Rose, I thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. I thank you for having me. I really do.
All right, girl. Anything else?
And having you in my life.
Oh my gosh, I'm so grateful to have you in my life. You're definitely one of those quiet queens who just teaches me by being. It's like Rose is just being. Like she doesn't have to, shout out from the rooftops. Yeah. She doesn't have to be this influencer,
Right.
She's like, let me stay quiet. And then when it's my turn to speak, everybody will listen.
Give me the mic.
Give me the mic. I've been drinking, Jack. Give me the microphone now. Move over. It's my time to shine. All right. Well, for all you guys listening to the podcast, we thank you. We welcome you to join our group, the Court of Miracles. And we send you so much love. Thank you, Rose.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye, Felicia.
Bye.